I love my iPad. I love the freedom that it gives me, even more than my laptop. Or did. Now I'm forced to use Larry around outlets. Larry used to love the outdoors. It's his birthday and he needs a new battery, so today I'm going to show you how to replace the battery in your iPad so we can get back out into nature, or at least away from the outlets. Hi, I'm Gwendolyn with iFixit, and I'll be walking you through this repair today. But as always, make sure to check out our step-by-step guide as we go. I'll be doing this repair on a 3rd generation Wi-Fi iPad. But if your model is different, make sure to check out our guide for your specific device. iPad repairs are no joke. A quick look through our step-by-step guide will show you just removing the panel takes up 25 steps. But don't let that discourage you. Just keep in mind that this repair is going to take you a while to do and will require a good amount of patience. For this repair, you're going to need an iOpener kit that comes with an iOpener and all the special opening tools you'll need for this repair, including plastic opening tools and a set of opening picks. You'll also need a metal spudger, a Phillips 00 screwdriver, and a plastic spudger. Once we have everything together, we can get started. First off, you want to make sure your iPad is off and completely disconnected from any power source. Check and check. And to get this bad boy open, we're going to use the iOpener, which heats up and softens all the adhesive holding the front panel in place. To get started, just toss the iOpener in the microwave for 1 minute and place it on the edges of the device. I recommend beginning on the right-hand side because there's a small gap in the adhesive right around here that's the perfect place to start. Using a plastic opening tool, begin prying the glass up and away from the bezel. It can be hard to see, but you want to make sure you insert the tool between the bezel and the glass. As soon as you're able to open a small gap, insert the first of your picks to prevent the panel from reattaching to the glue. While the adhesive is still hot from the iOpener, try sliding the pick down to loosen it along the right side. The adhesive is extremely strong, so you're going to need to use some serious force to get it separated. If you're having a ton of trouble moving the pick, simply reapply the iOpener to the area you're working on. When sliding the pick, you want to make sure that it's never pushed beyond the black bezel of your iPad. If you're able to see the tip of the pick through the glass, you're in there way too far. Having the pick in that far can potentially get adhesive residue on your LCD or damage some internal components. Once you've made it to the bottom corner of the iPad, you'll want to insert another pick in the area we just opened up to keep the glue from resetting. At this point, we suggest turning your attention to both the bottom and top edges of the iPad. With your iOpener and picks, use the same process of heating and separating and work your way across the two edges, going a couple of inches at a time. We found that this method reduces the risk of cracking the front panel. One quick warning before you start. You want to be wary when using your picks at the bottom section of the iPad. The Wi-Fi antenna is attached to the bottom right edges of the rear case of the iPad. Work carefully and slowly and make sure not to sever this cable. Just like before, whenever you make a little progress in separating the glass, slide another pick in to keep things from resticking. Now all that's left is the left-hand side of the iPad. Be cautious with your picks and prying tools when you're working on the lower half of this side. The digitizer cable is located about 2 inches from the bottom, and we want to make sure we don't do anything to damage that in any way. Holding the iPad from the top and bottom right corners, rotate the front glass away from the iPad. Don't just pull it off because the front panel is still attached to the logic board. If you're getting any resistance when lifting, use your picks to cut the adhesive. We did it! The hard part is over. From here on out, everything is pretty straightforward, starting with removing the 4 screws securing the LCD to the aluminum frame. Once these screws are removed, use your spudger or plastic opening tool to gently lift the LCD out of the case. Make sure to be careful though, the LCD ribbon cable is fragile. There's a small piece of tape that's covering the LCD ribbon cable connector, which can make it tricky to see at first, but you can use your spudger to remove that. Now you will see the retaining flap on the LCD ribbon cable zip connector. This connector has a lock that you need to lift up in order to release the cable. This mechanism is very fragile and you don't want to break it, so be very careful and use the tip of your spudger to lift it. Depending on your finger size, you may need to use tweezers to pull the cable from its connector. Fortunately for me, my fingers work just fine. Now we can move on to the digitizer cable. This cable uses the same type of connectors that the LCD used, so apply the same warnings here. Be careful and use your spudger. Finally, peel back the digitizer ribbon cable and use the flat end of your spudger to release the adhesive securing the cable to the rear aluminum case. Using your fingers, peel the digitizer ribbon cable out of its recesses from the aluminum frame. If present, remove the pieces of electrical tape covering the Wi-Fi antenna, speaker cable, and dock connector cable. Now you can slide the flat end of your spudger underneath the plastic spacer at the bottom right corner of the iPad. Use the flat end of your spudger to disconnect the dock connector, Wi-Fi antenna, and speaker cables from the logic board. We also need to disconnect the headphone jack assembly cables, which are located at the opposite side of the logic board. There are 4 screws securing the logic board, and once you remove those, you can lift the logic board up and out of the rear case. Now we can move on to the battery. This battery is held in place by a lot of adhesive. In order to get the battery out safely, you need to remove the glue a little at a time. Batteries contain all sorts of nasty chemicals that are harmful to inhale, so make sure you don't puncture it or damage it as you go. Let's start with the metal spudger. Slip it underneath the battery near the bottom of the iPad. This is extremely sticky, so you may have to put a lot of force into it, but remember, work slowly and carefully so your spudger doesn't slip. Now we can gently lift the left side up. If you feel the adhesive still holding on, give it a little spudger action. Once the battery is out, you're ready for your new one. before we go, here's a couple of helpful tips for putting your iPad back together. When it comes time to reapply your front panel, you need to take a few things into consideration. First and foremost, you're going to want to make sure you thoroughly clean your LCD and both sides of your front panel. The last thing you want is a speck of dirt or a fingerprint haunting you for the rest of your iPad's life. We recommend using a microfiber cloth and cleaning the solution like OmniCleanse or apple juice, whichever. Second, many people are able to reuse the existing adhesive on their front panels to re-adhere them. But seeing as the process involves a lot of heating and scraping, there's no guarantee of that. So it might be a good idea to pick up a few replacement adhesive strips. Lastly, when closing up your iPad, be mindful of the digitizer cable. You want to make sure it doesn't get stuck in the adhesive and especially that it doesn't get pinched or creased in the panel. Of course, you can find all the parts and tools you need for this and many more repairs at iFixit.com. And let us know how it goes. We love to hear your repair success stories. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on all our latest teardowns and repair videos. You can also follow us on Twitter at iFixit and give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/iFixit.